It would be hard to put into words exactly how much work and pain and suffering went into the making of this video. See, I've recorded this about 5 times now, and I've just about had it. So you're getting podcast style Wally this time, so, you're going to just have to deal with it. But it's okay, because we have a very rare sighting. ZZ and Winston are here. Let's do this. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are looking at the annual report. Now, before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and please listen to me whine about why this was so much pain. So first off, I recorded this video and my microphone had an issue. And so then I was like, okay, well, things happen. It will remain calm. So I re-recorded it again. And there was an issue with the software that I use for processing the audio. So then that got scuffed. So then I had to record it again. So then I recorded it again, and I lacked all enthusiasm, energy. I looked like a shell of myself. It wasn't good. I tried my best to edit it, and it just was garbage. So I was like, I can't release this. So then I recorded it again. And then there was an issue with my hard drive. For whatever reason, my solid state drive decided that no, I had too many files in one particular folder, and that it was donezo. So it decided that it was going to get corrupted, and so when I opened everything up in the editing software, red bars all across, and it didn't work. So I had to re-record it again. So I get to re-recording it, and the fire alarms and the carbon monoxide sensors are going off in the house. And I'm like, what in tarnation? I think Jesus does not want me talking about it. I think this is the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to go back to the Kingdom Hall and pledge your allegiance to the org, because I think God is giving us a message that apostate Wally is a foul man and needs to keep his mouth shut. But anyway, so the carbon monoxide sensors are going off, and I replaced the batteries, and it works for a little bit, and then it starts back up, and it seems completely random. And then I turn the furnace off. And once I turn the furnace off, the problem stops, which leads me to think that there might be a carbon monoxide leak with my furnace, which is awesome because it's going to be lower. I think it's going to get down to like 16 degrees tonight. So one of the coldest day or nights of the year, day and night of the year, and I can't have my furnace on or else I might die. So it's been a really awesome, great day, and that explains why both ZZ and Winston are in here, because it's the warmest spot in the house. When my computer's on, it's like having a little heat fan in here, and the lights give off a lot of heat, so this is the warm spot, so everyone's kind of hunkered down in here. Anyway, thus ends the longest intro in the JW Thoughts channel history. All of that was just to whine and complain a little bit. I warned you, it's Podcast Wally. We are talking about the annual report. So let's pull up the numbers and see what we got. So I'll put the last 5 years down below here just so you can see. In comparison, we have an uptick in memorial attendance. We have an uptick once again in memorial partakers. Now this one, whether you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness or you're a Jehovah's Witness, is always funny. For those that don't know, Watchtower has this weird rule where they think only 144,000 chosen ones are going to be resurrected to heaven, and they're going to be part of this special ruling class. So they take literally the verses in Revelation 11. And for years, they had the number of memorial partakers, those that actually drink the wine and eat the bread during their yearly memorial of Jesus Christ's death. That number was continually going down ever since the 40s or something. And then they hit this point when they made a flip-flop with one of their teachings. I made a whole video about it. Here, this is the thumbnail. I can put a link in the description if I remember. But whenever they changed the generation teaching, basically extending it and saying, well, maybe you can be part of the resurrected anointed even if you were born after 1936 or something or another, then the number started to go up, and it has not stopped. It just keeps going up, and it's absolutely hilarious. Then we have the overall increase of 1.3%, which is not looking good, because since I left, the Watchtower basically has been hovering around the birth-death ratio, which is really bad and sad. I know in previous videos I've talked about it, but if you take the number of hours that they spend in their preaching work, and you see how much else could be accomplished if people were spending their time doing something else, if they were, in science, music, art, anything whatsoever, you could have thousands of world experts in all of these different fields, and yet they're just spending their time standing by carts doing absolutely nothing whatsoever. There was an uptick in Bible studies as well, which I guess makes sense because they're getting back into the preaching work, and they've lowered the standard for what it is to have a Bible study so much over the years. That makes a lot of sense. One of the biggest things, and I can sort of put it on a graph here, is the correlation between the hours spent in the ministry, the Bible studies, and their publisher increase. So it's amazing when you look at it that the time you spend doing something gives no value. So imagine you have a job, and it's back in 1990, and you make $300,000, and you only have to work 1,000 hours a year. Well, in 2023, you work 2,000 hours, and so you are working more, and yet your compensation is only 269,000, which is going down with inflation. So you're putting in more effort and getting less results. And I think it's really telling that the actual preaching, how many hours they spend, in no way through all of these years has any correlation to the number of baptisms or the increase in publishers. Quite to the contrary, the more time they're spending in the ministry, it seems like the number of their publishers is, as a percentage, is going down. So you're increasing your effort and you're decreasing the results. It's a bad business model. It's reminiscent of a little bit of a Blockbuster action here. I was kind of thinking about this. So Blockbuster, I'm going to make myself sound like an old fogey, a real fossil here, but they had several different transitions that they needed to make. You go from the VHS to the DVD to the Blu-ray, and then streaming services came out. So where did Blockbuster go wrong? Well, essentially, they were banking on negative profit, and that's just a business term for you are making profit off of penalizing your customers. So when your customer has a negative experience, that is when you gain profit. And that is their entire business model, was that, because they only made money based off of late fees. Well, then another service comes along and says, hey, what if you don't have to have late fees? What if you can just sign up once a month? Bada bing, bada boom. Now, this guy, the guy that started Netflix, actually pitched this idea to Blockbuster, and they kicked him out of the room, hilariously enough, because it was about 5 years later that Blockbuster only had like one store left, or like a handful of stores left, and went bankrupt, and Netflix was worth like $30 billion. So why am I saying all this? Well, it's just to draw a little bit of a correlation of how Watchtower is doing sort of this negative profit shenanigans, where you're always asking more of Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're having all of these restrictions. To be a Jehovah's Witness, it's restrictive. Oh, hi, buddy. Do you want to go out? You can go out. Anyway, you're kicking people out. You're holding this sort of Damocles over their head and saying, well, if you leave, you're going to lose all of your family, blah, 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 blah. And so that only works once you get past a certain threshold. And once you cross that threshold and you have enough people that are beginning to leave, like people did when they were moving from Blockbuster to Redbox and then to Netflix, you cross that threshold, and then word of mouth is your worst enemy. And I am seeing, at least when I'm looking at their numbers, I'm seeing a situation that is very similar, where you have enough people that are leaving Watchtower. For every 3 people that get baptized, 1 person is leaving. That is a lot. Like, think about every single friend group. That means like 2, 3, 4 kids, teenagers are leaving, not getting baptized, or, that's not even accounting for people that never get baptized or never become publishers. So it could be even a higher number. But you have enough people on the outside, and you have a bigger ex-Jehovah's Witness community where people can find accurate information. They can see that there are other business models. There are other ways to live your life that are okay. You're not going to turn into this drug addict. You're not going to be picking up prostitutes on the block. You're not going to be getting in gang fights and stuff. You're just probably going to get a regular job and find a partner that makes you happy and have a dog and buy a house and just live your life. And when people see that, it doesn't help with this threshold. And I'm thinking Watchtower is getting close to that point where there are enough people on the outside, where there is a big enough ex-Jehovah's Witness community that people aren't going to be afraid of change anymore. It's not going to be, well, I mean, the only thing I know is I got to go in and rent my DVDs, and by golly, I got to make sure they're not 10 minutes late or else I'll get penalized. They've been living that way for so long, and maybe they're going to see that there is another way of living. I know this is like a strange business analogy, but it's how my brain works, so deal with it. But when looking at these numbers, I think that we are getting to a point where they are going to cross that threshold. And I don't think Watchtower is so stupid that they don't recognize this. And I say that because I called 2023 the biggest year of changes in decades. I think they see the numbers. And are their numbers true? Listen, that is such a tough discussion. I fall on they would never publish that they had a decrease in the amount of Jehovah's Witnesses if they were lying. And in 2020, they published that they had a decrease in the number of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that sort of tells me that they might be telling the truth, but I don't know. If they're lying, I wouldn't be surprised. If they're telling the truth, I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of just I have no idea. So I'll just go with the information that I do have. But it does seem a little bit odd about, I hate the expression anecdotal evidence, because anecdotal evidence isn't evidence. It's just an anecdote. So sorry for anyway, we don't need to get into all of that crap. But anyway, according to the reports that we hear from people within the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, meetings are empty. They are losing members. Where a congregation had 100, 120 people, now it's down to like 60 to 80 people. And that is a huge swing. So if everyone is reporting that there's like a 30 to 40 to 50% decrease in the number of people that are actually at meetings, then how are we to look at these numbers and really believe it? I personally think that this is an indication that there are an incredible amount of people that don't believe in Watchtower shenanigans anymore, but they're just going along with it because their family, they don't want to lose that, this, that, and the third. You guys know the drill. But anyway, that is podcast style Wally ranting about some numbers. And I want to get into one other thing. Why they made all the changes in 2023. So they brought in 2 new governing body members. They revamped their PR department. They are relaxing a lot of policies. To me, this is the same thing as what, we'll just go back to it, what Blockbuster did. Did you know that Blockbuster had a streaming service? Did you know that Blockbuster had canceled its late fee policy? You probably didn't, because it was too little, too late. And for Watchtower, I'm thinking it's too little, too late. They were decades late for the televangelists. So they were decrying televangelists for years and years. Oh, those scumbags, they're just trying to take your money, those greedy sons of bitches. And then they just became televangelists. Everything for Watchtower was about types and antitypes and prophecies and really digging into the Bible. What did we get at this year's annual meeting? A bunch of, I don't know, we don't know, we can't say for certain. It'd be really hard to say. We just really don't know. They are softening their policies, but I think personally it's too late because they have already crossed that threshold because their business model was built on negative income. And it's going to be interesting because they do have an infinite money glitch because, I mean, they have free liquid assets at their disposal for days. They can just keep building kingdom halls. They can come up with new light and new excuses to keep building kingdom halls and assembly halls and Bethels. And it's just free money for them. It's liquid assets that they don't have to pay for any of, like, the people volunteer to do it. People donate more money when they know that there's a building project going on. So I don't see them going anywhere as far as a corporation, but the corporation will exist with a limited amount of people. So I would predict, so time for predictions, that next year we're going to see another sort of stasis, probably something around 1% growth. And after that, so 2024, 1%, I would say in 2025, it gets back down to pandemic levels where you're at like 0.5%. And then in 2026, that's when they really start going downhill and we're starting to see negative growth, which is significant because they do have this whole idea of God's waiting to bring Armageddon because he wants more people to become Jehovah's Witnesses. And as soon as less people are becoming Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to really have to grab the old red phone and call in some Jesus new light because it's not going to look very good. But hey, I'll be here for it. It'll be very exciting. Sorry that this was a scuffed video, just me rambling and babbling, podcast style Wally. But as I said, there was a lot of challenges in the making of this video. And for that reason alone, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. With all of that being said, stay safe, be kind, and show yourself the same kindness that you show to others. Zizi, can we try and have a good-ass day?